What's going on, everybody? Let's Talk Jets Radio. Quick video here as the New York Jets report to voluntary minicamp today. By all accounts, it was a pretty good turnout. No reports of players not showing up. So in Jets land, we call that a pretty good day. I'm not sure if anybody's going to be meeting the media in the next couple days or if we're actually going to get any reports of who was there and who wasn't. But by all accounts, it was a pretty good turnout, which you like to hear. More than anything else, I think today is just an opportunity for Aaron Glenn to really relay his message about what he's going to be all about and what he wants this culture to be all about. Because it's one thing when you're meeting the media and you're doing your press conferences, it's hard, I think, for players to really tell, is this guy genuine or is it just a lot of hot air? Obviously, you could go from, guys that he's coached with the Saints and the Lions that have had plenty of good things to say about him. But now you get to actually see it up close, personal, and for yourself, where you have maybe a little bit more of those personal conversations. And so that's where I really hope Aaron Glenn rubbed off on a lot of these guys, just showing his authenticity, what he's going to be about, the kind of mindset that he wants to instill here, because it seems like he's a guy that is going to have your back. He's going to push for you to get better, but he's also going to hold you accountable and maybe say some things that could rub you the wrong way initially, but knowing deep down that it's in your best interest. So I hope Aaron Glenn was able to relay that message. And also, I don't know how much they're doing as far as, installing offense, defense, and things like that versus just workouts, but I'm sure there's obviously some conversations going on about what the system is going to look like on both sides of the football. And that's where I'm really hoping to see the biggest change. Aside from just, discipline and accountability issues that it seems like have plagued this team forever, installing a defense that is going to be not just good, but aggressive and really look to take the soul of the opposing offense. That's something I feel like we haven't seen since Rex Ryan. And even those teams, obviously, they had the issues in the fourth quarter, closing out games and various things like that. But just having that killer instinct on defense, not being scared to blitz, not being scared to be aggressive, getting takeaways that actually impact the game, that's something that we have not seen, it feels like, for a very long time for the New York Jets on the defensive side of the ball. And even offensively, just the lack of identity, the lack of creativity. Now you got Justin Fields in the building that can do so many different things that get you excited if he could just kind of improve a little bit as far as, actually being a legitimate passer, reading defenses and things like that. Because with his speed, with what he could do, with the backs that you have, and obviously prioritizing Garrett Wilson, hopefully we get him some help. But also a relatively young but talented offensive line, 4/5 of it coming back. Possibility that they could add somebody at 7 and Membu to complete it for the next couple years. So, in spite of the fact that I'm not too excited about this upcoming year, because I do think the team and the roster is well behind many others in the AFC, and there's just going to be that learning curve with a first-time coach, first-time offensive coordinator, you could start to see some reasons to be excited if this coaching staff is legit, because I do think there's talent here. Yes, there are lots of holes. Yes, there are many things that they need to address. This draft really does need to produce, I think, a bunch of starters. You can make a very good argument at pick 7 that you could go a whole bunch of different ways. I know the Jets put out their first mock today, had them taking a defensive end, which I wouldn't be thrilled about, but it's hard to argue that it's still a need when you never really replaced Bryce Huff. Reddick didn't work out. He walked. Jermaine Johnson coming back from injury. McDonald peaked in the first 3-4 games, then he was relatively quiet. So a lot to figure out, even defensive tackle, who's next to Quinnen Williams. Certainly wide receivers in need, but you're probably not taking one at 7. Kind of feels like it's coming down to the same conversation that we had last year, whether to go offensive line or go for your weapon in a guy like Tyler Warren. I was a huge fan of Bowers last year. I felt he was a once in a generational guy. But also now that we're looking at a hole at right tackle, very nice to have Fashanu in place on the other side. So you can certainly see a guy like Membu who brings that physicality and can kind of set the tone for your offense in a certain way. But also Will Campbell, his versatility. I don't think he missed a game in his time at LSU. And then again, Warren, just somebody that I think maybe brings a little bit more to the table as a blocker than Bowers does, but also has that versatility as a pass catcher as well. So a lot of different directions they can go in. I don't think it's going to be running back. I don't think they're going to trade down, although it wouldn't be a shocker if they did and maybe looked at a quarterback or something like that. I hope that doesn't happen. But so many different directions they could go in. So this should be a very interesting couple weeks. But hopefully over the next couple days, we get to hear from Glenn and a few of the players, and hopefully things are going well. So talk to you guys soon.